Hello and welcome to the Palmer Performance Garage. Today we're going to have a little play with the Subaru. We've got a few little jobs to do, so we're going to get her jacked up and start cracking on. So last year I bought these secondhand. They're like a hydraulic powered, almost like a scissor ramp, but they come in two pieces, so they're quite versatile. You can change them around, do different things with them. I haven't actually used them on the Subaru yet, so you have one for each side. I've only used them on one of our other cars, changing the oil and filter on it. One on each side, and then there's like a hydraulic pump in the corner there, and the hydraulic hoses and the controller for it. So we'll get these placed under the car in a safe place to lift it. They do have like safety latches on the sides to stop them collapsing, but once it's up in the air we'll put axle stands under it as well.
Now, as you can see, I'm being a bit faffy when I'm setting up the ramps to use them. It is the first time I've used them on the Subaru, and the last thing I want to do is damage the sills or anything else when lifting it. Having said that, it's still a lot quicker lifting the car up to a height using these than it ever is doing it with a jack. Normally what I would do is I'd jack the rear up, or jack the side of the car up a bit so I could get a big jack in under the front and jack the whole thing up that way, but it's all a bit of a faff. Whereas this just lifts the car up to a good height straight away.
And there we go, that's her up in the air. Like I say, it's the first time that I've used the ramps. They seem to be doing the job pretty well on this. That's the little lockout arm there. I will put some axle stands under a couple of places just because I'm paranoid about safety. So our main job on this video, we're just going to give the calipers a bit of a clean. They're a bit dirty from a track evening we did at the end of last year. And then the next job, if you can kind of see in the dark there, we're going to replace this, which is the front anti-roll bar, and we'll put new drop links on at the same time. You see we've got replacement shocks on here, which are adjustable Tyne Enduro Pro Plus with original Pro Dry springs on it, and they're great. They damp really nicely and everything, but the springs themselves are a little bit on the soft side. I don't really want to change them because that kind of takes away from the originality of the car in some ways. I know I've changed lots of bits, but it does ride the bumps really well when you're driving down sort of B roads and the sorts of roads where I like to drive the car. So to kind of stiffen up the chassis, you end up putting, or to reduce body roll, we end up putting slightly stiffer anti-roll bars on. Now the rear has already got a slightly stiffer one on, or it had when I first restored the car last year, and I kind of wanted to go a bit stiffer, so I got an even thicker one for the rear, made it even stiffer. But now the car's a bit unbalanced. It's a bit too stiff on the rear and still soft on the front. So I've now got an uprated one for the front, and that's what we're going to fit today, as well as cleaning the brakes at the same time. Now this is the bottom mount for the drop link for this side of the anti-roll bar. As you can see, it's been on the car quite a while. So what I'm just going to get a wire brush on that and spray it with a bit of penetrant spray, just to give it a bit of a head start whilst we're taking the wheel off the other side before we try and undo it.
Note my little pen mark on the top mount here, that's for adjusting camber. And once they were set, I marked them up so I knew whether it moved or not. And now with the clean caliper, they look pretty good, don't they? And with the brakes cleaned, it's time to make a start on getting the anti-roll bar off. First job, get the under tray off. As you can see, I've cracked out one of my Milwaukee ratchets and a magnetic tray for making sure I don't lose any bolts. It's only about 4 bolts and 4 push clips, and then 2 sort of special U-shaped clips at the back to pull the under tray off. And then once that's out of the way, you can pretty much get to anything you need to underneath the engine. The Subaru is actually surprisingly easy to work on, and some of that might be, in my case, down to familiarity, as this is the third one I've had.
Right, so the under tray's off and out of the way. When I did all the restoration work on the car last year, most of it was focusing on the rear end. That's where they tend to have all the issues. So basically, from the sort of gearbox back, it was all taken back to bare metal, any rust issues sorted, and then primered with a special rust primer, and then coated with a special underbody coating. And then all the components, new bushes, new bolts, anything that needed replacing, replaced, bits powder coated and all sorts. But like I said before, there's pictures of all that on my Instagram. And maybe in a later video when we're doing some maintenance or something, we'll show you under there because it looks quite pretty. But this side of things, really the engine needs to come out to do any proper sort of resto work. But I've done a lot under here. All this subframe, this crash frame up front was all powder coated. The gearbox subframes were done as well. I actually had to replace the centre diff in the back of the gearbox, so that was done as part of the restoration work that I did. And then obviously we overhauled all the front hubs. They're actually new front hubs, wheel bearings, and the calipers all got overhauled a lot. So engine bay wise, I did a big service on it not long after I got it, so sorted out all sorts of little oil leaks and cracked pipes. The car's 20 years old now, so you've got to expect a few issues, especially with the sort of car it is. So it had all new cam belt and water pump, and replaced loads of bolts and hoses and pipes and breathers, and rocker cover gaskets are a real common one on these. So the nice thing about taking the under tray off is with these engines you can pretty much see everything and just checking to see there's no major oil leaks and stuff. There is the odd weep on it because it's a 20-year-old engine now. So, but a lot of those little weeps come from places that you can't get to without taking the engine out and stripping it, and they're not bad enough to warrant worrying about. They are literally little weeps that you'd expect from an old gasket or whatever. But anyway, now the under tray's out of the way. You can see that's actually the oil filter there, but this is the anti-roll bar here, and then they're the clamps for it. So we've got 2 bolts to undo on them to get them out of the way. We might have to undo this plate, I think, to be able to drop the anti-roll bar out, but we'll get the drop links disconnected now and then work on those clamps and then see how easily we can get this thing out. And that's it, that's the old one out. Now, in all honesty, this big crash frame here was just held on by about 10 bolts. If I'd taken that off, it would give easier access to the mounts and then more space to actually get the bar itself out. But it's quite a lot of work to take this off. Admittedly, I did have to slightly lever the anti-roll bar bush bracket to pop it off that stud. But that's a lot easier than having to take that whole this whole crash subframe off. The only other thing I had to do was take this plate off from under the engine and undo this little extra subframe bar there, just to give the anti-roll bar enough room to sort of drop down and squeeze through. So now that's out the way, we'll get the new one unpacked and get it on. So this is a Whiteline bar. The rear one that's on it is also a Whiteline. They do all sorts of different sizes and styles. They do adjustable and non-adjustable. I always tend to go for the adjustable ones because then you can have a play with the setting to get it right for your car and how your car's set up. I'll show you a little bit about that in a second.
Stickers, obviously, you know, who doesn't love a sticker? So in here we've got the bushes, and then these, they're like a little thing that clamps around the bar just to stop the anti-roll bar moving side to side. And there'll probably be a bag of grease in there as well. And then this is the bar itself. If I can get the packing off, would be a good start. Right, so this is what we mean by an adjustable bar. So if you think that's your leverage point, the bar sits something like that. And if you have your drop link connected to the one that's further away from the bar, that then effectively makes the bar softer because there's more leverage. And if you have it closer, that makes the bar stiffer. Obviously, the softer setting means you have more body roll, the stiffer setting, less body roll. There is such a thing as having too much not enough body roll. So if you have a car that's too stiff, you can end up, you know, with it not actually loading up the outside wheels enough to give you decent grip. So it's all a case of finding the balance for your own particular car and how it's set up and how you like your car to feel. Anyway, let's get it fitted. Right, these are the next bits to put on. The bar's up and bolted in place. We've made sure it's sort of central, left to right, and then these are what are called lateral locks. So they're going to go on the inside of where the bushes are on the bar, just with a little bit of clearance, and they stop the bar from moving side to side, so they just keep it in place. It's literally just going to go up like that. Once they're bolted on, we can get all these plates and subframe bits bolted back on underneath, and then bolt up the drop links. So that's all the stuff underneath done. All we've got to do now is connect up the anti-roll bar. And you can see what I mean here about the two different mounting holes. So we're going to start this on the softer setting because, you know, it's quite a change going from the standard bar to this one. So that needs to be in the hole further away from where the anti-roll bar pivots, if you like. So we'll pop it in here, do it up, do the same the other side, get the wheels back on, and then next time the weather cheers up, we'll take it for a test drive, see how it feels. And whilst the undertray was off, it was a good opportunity just to give everything a bit of a wipe over underneath and have a good visual check of all the bits and pieces, make sure there's no issues or no leaks that we need to do anything about. So again, part of the joys of a older car, we've had a little rattle that you can hear at idle sometimes, and basically this bit of the heat shield's just rotted out, so that it was kind of vibrating So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to get a big repair washer and put it behind and in front and then bolt it up. These heat shields, I'm not even sure if you can buy them new anymore, but obviously they get a lot of abuse because they're under the engine, they get hot, they get cold, they get covered in water. So maybe at some point in the future we sort of replace the full manifold with an aftermarket version that'll be heat wrapped instead of having metal shields. But in the meantime, a couple of washers and a new bolt will stop that rattling. So let's give you a quick idea of what the back looks like underneath. As you can see, I put a fair bit of time and effort into it last year. And like I've said on previous videos, the downside is it makes you not want to drive it. So there we go. Under tray all back on. Wheels back on. I do love my red brake calipers. Now all we've got to do is lower the car back down, get the torque wrench on the front wheels, and then she's ready for a little run out, hopefully at the weekend. When we do get out in the car, we'll take the video camera with us and we'll discuss how the car feels with the changes that we've made. Thanks for watching, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys soon.